Hi everyone and welcome to today's webinar. I am delighted to be joined by Cathy. Firstly, let me introduce myself. That I'm Chris Hyland, and I'm one of the co-founders of the Happiness Index, and my role is Chief Customer Officer. And I'm very lucky that I get to speak to some very influential people that we work with. So Cathy, could you please give yourself introductions about who you are?
Thank you so much, Chris, and thanks for having me today. So yes, my name is Cathy Desquesses, and I'm the Chief People Officer for Sodexo. And I've joined the company about 2 years ago now. My background was before 20 years with the General Electric company over different geographies, Europe, US, and different industries like financial services or oil and gas, energy segments, and again, more recently, was lucky to join Sodexo and lead the people community worldwide.
So 20 years, that's amazing. You must have really enjoyed it there.
Yes, no, it was a fantastic career growth in GE, but at some point of my life, I turned 45 and I needed a different challenge, something new. After being on the road for almost 15 years, lucky enough to discover many countries, many cultures, many different people, we also felt as a family that it was time for us to settle down. And this opportunity came up, and I totally fell in love with Sodexo and its culture, its values, and the people who make this company so unique.
Brilliant. So you've been there 2 years now. So do you feel new, or do you feel a part of the furniture now?
Well, some days I feel still new, because learning a company like this one that is very complex, right? We operate in 67 different countries. We employ 470,000 employees, so we are the 17th largest private employers on the planet, and we have different activities. Right, we work in hospitals, we work in schools, we work in prisons. We also have some, pass for people to use when they want to buy meals or vouchers. It's so diverse. It was founded in 1966. So yeah, those days you're like, I know nothing about this company, and you lose sleep at night. And other days you feel that you're part of a great story. And yes, somebody told me the other day, oh, I'm under the impression that you've been around forever. And I'm like, no, it's been 24 months. So it depends which topic and which day, to be honest with.
And I understand that Sodexo a family run or owned still, is it?
Yes, exactly. So it was founded again in 1966 by Pierre Bello. And still remained with the family. So the family owns the company today over 50% of the share. It's publicly listed, but the chairwoman of the board, we are the only company of the CAC 40 in France with a chairwoman, which is great. It's part of the massive diverse culture we have as an organization. She's the daughter of the founder. And so, yes, the family is still absolutely engaged and involved in Sodexo.
That's brilliant. So yeah, that's some great background on Sodexo. Obviously, in the last, we are doing this from home. We're currently in a global pandemic, which everyone knows about. How has that affected your business, and how has it affected you as a HR leader?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it was a shock, right? Why? Because schools shut down, universities shut down overnight, companies had a shutdown, and we provide facility management and food services to schools and universities, to many companies. And so we had to close our sites very, very rapidly. I mean, a massive cliff for us. While we're also servicing prisons, hospitals, senior homes, where the pressure was increasing actually, because there was a need for more people, more expertise. So it was all of a sudden a complete shift of perspective for us and priorities. So we decided to really respond to this crisis in 3 different ways, and that's what you see right now. Well, first of all, try to preserve as much as we can and we could our frontline people. As I said, we have about 400,000 frontline employees that are serving our clients and consumers all over the planet. So with the shutdown of some of those sites, we have to quickly think about creative solutions to reposition our employees internally, right? From a university to a hospital. But then you have to reskill, you have to retrain, because it's not the same to work in a school and in a hospital, right? So we had to quickly shift and help people reposition so that they could still make income. We also established some partnerships with external companies such as Amazon or Unilever to help our people bounce back externally, because some of them, for example, in the US or in Asia, didn't have support from the state. There was no state aid at this time for people being furloughed or unemployed. So they were losing income overnight. So we said, okay, can we partner with Unilever, Amazon, and many more to try to host our people and employ them, because they were themselves under massive pressure, which they did unbelievably quickly, saying, welcome Sodexo employees to Amazon for the time being. And when Sodexo reopens, you guys go back home, right? So it was amazing, the level of creativity and responsiveness in India, in China, in the US, in France, from all those companies partnering with us to help our people with, being still employed. And then where it was not possible, we actually created a special program of 30 million euros, actually funded by our bonuses, our salaries, that we all put into a big pot globally to support the people who were losing, healthcare coverage, income. And with this money, we were able to buy food vouchers, right? Because some of our people could not even eat anymore or get treated anymore with the disease. The second piece of it, and this is where you guys helped a lot, right, was engaging management. Frontline employees, we try to support employment, management, working from home, all of the sudden being disconnected from their teams, working remotely, their well-being, and this is where, and we're going to talk about it at a later stage, but this is where you guys stepped in and helped us with, kind of pulling together this pulse, asking people, how do you feel, right? Ready to work. Some people are very anxious to get back to the office, because the virus is still around and it's a threat. So we as a company want people back as soon as possible. We think that the social link is the core of engagement, motivation. So we're not going to be able to welcome everybody back day one, but at least with the capacity we have, with the new norms, we want people back. We're not going to tell people, let's see in September. No. We want them back.
I've heard you say in the past that, and it's absolutely right, that your people are your asset. So your people on the front line, everyone, that is living and breathing your company.
It is the alpha and the omega, because we're a service company like you guys, right? We don't sell a product, we sell services. So it's all about the people connecting with other people. Of course, communication is everything, right? In a VUCA world like this, the more clear and transparent and honest you can be with people, treating them like adults is fundamental, with, keeping people motivated, focused, and engaged. And of course, like anybody else, we're looking at reshaping our structure to make it leaner, lighter, and also learning from, all what the crisis taught us, I would say. My 3 takeaways are the ones on the right-hand side. Safety first. There's not going to be any compromise here for our people or our clients. Our company values spirit of service, spirit of innovation, and spirit of service and teams, are stronger than ever in this environment. And this crisis is definitely an accelerator for us, with the good and the less good, but it's definitely pushing us forward as an organization.
I know that, you know, dealing with Sodexo for a few years now and dealing with multiple people, I know that you're all incredibly passionate about your values and living your values. But I was interested in your point there around the accelerator part, because I guess for such a huge business, you've been a little bit busy recently. And how have you found kind of trying to adapt fast to the kind of new normal, the new world, so to speak?
Yeah. So different things. First of all, I think all of a sudden, humanity recognized the importance of the jobs we have. Yeah, somebody in a kitchen providing food, somebody cleaning a hospital. You know, those jobs were probably not really recognized before. Today, it's putting our people and our jobs in the light. They're heroes. Without someone cleaning and disinfecting in a hospital or a senior home, the hospital can't operate. The food chain, right? And from producer to your plate, people understand the importance of all of those jobs more than ever. But yeah, Sodexo is a racing elephant. So it's a big elephant. It's a huge organization. It's complex, but it's learned very fast how to make decisions, right? Pragmatism. We are locally led as an organization, and people have rebuilt those muscles of empowerment. You know what? It's in my hands. I'm not going to make a perfect decision today, and perfect being the enemy of good. We don't want it, but at least 80-20, let's get there. Can't be static. We have to move. And we saw a lot of silos breaking. We saw a lot of people kind of, you know, my plane, your plane, right? You know, the Sully story when he landed on the Hudson River. Delegation, empowerment, trust, because in this crisis, we had to move extremely fast and be agile. And this is how the organization adapted, which is fabulous.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for that. That's great. Let's move to the next slide. So obviously this part's intriguing, and I'm sure the listeners would be great to find out more about the Sodexo people story. So obviously, as you mentioned earlier, why do you think it's so important to listen to your global workforce and understand how they feel?
Yeah. And it was very new when we introduced this We Care Chapter 1 Pulse with you guys, right? We had to explain to our executive committee that this was not an engagement survey. It was a window open for people to share so that we could listen. And we really asked 3 questions. How do you feel? What's on your mind? And what would be helpful for you? And yes, this chapter 1 is just showing that we care, that we want to hear how they feel and monitor the trends over time of, if I'm a 6 out of 10 and all of a sudden I move to 7, there's something that, you know, is picking up again in the organization. So it was unusual for organization to take a step like this. So questions were, well, when you hear the feedback, what action plan are you going to do about it? And I'm like, none, actually. I'm just going to acknowledge how people feel and making sure that they've been heard, and that, yes, there are things we don't control. The context, we don't control. No one controls the context of this crisis. But how we behave and how people feel, this we can control. This we can take actions, open communications, respond by just asking how you feel. We care. So that was step number 1. People picked up on this extremely quickly. Out of 1,600 leaders, 400 took the survey in the first 3 hours, which is amazing. They wanted to share, so that was massive success. Thanks for helping us on this. That was great. Chapter 2 is we listen. So the emotional health survey, right, which we will continue on with keeping this pulse open. And then chapter 3, we engage. So I call it not the engagement and happiness, because I think in this moment, you know, it's hard to talk about happiness, but I like to talk about the motivation index. How people are motivated with re-engaging in the workplace. So we will kick off this at a later stage in the year. And chapter 4 is we evolve, obviously, like from what we hear. What change do we need to make to adapt to this new new normal?
Yeah, brilliant. So if we go to the next slide, there was one, I think, a really interesting part, which it was great. You know, it's been fantastic working with you guys because it feels like there's genuine partnership there, and the people from Sodexo are always incredibly receptive. And one of our approaches is to really understand neuroscience. And it was great that, you know, in these crazy times, these COVID times, I think asking people how they felt, which wasn't necessarily work related, was incredibly important. And I think, you know, a few of the points here that, you know, there's desired change and forced change. And the rarity around this was, this is global. So everyone all around the world has had that forced change rather than desired change. But even we're starting to see now some trends where people are starting to adapt. They're starting to think about what next. Now, you mentioned people going back to the office next week, etc. So it's been incredibly important to understand how people's emotions are played in to how the company can react. So is that something that which you guys are considering as well?
Yeah, absolutely. There is a very interesting moment right now. So as we're reopening our doors in France, actually this coming Monday, twofold, right? I'm talking to people who are extremely nervous re-entering the workplace, and they're nervous because they're going to have to take public transportation. They have to, so asking them how they feel about re-entering the workplace is extremely important. Second part of the people are actually so anxious to get out of their homes, and they want to re-enter the workplace. So those dynamics are completely conflicting, right? And we have to carefully listen to all of them because each story is going to be very, very different. So I totally align with, you know, listening very carefully so that we don't disengage our people one way or the other. Some companies are really pushing to reopen quickly, and some others are actually pushing to a later date. We're going to make it optional, right? If you feel like you want, then come, you're welcome. And we can't wait to have more people to come.
Well, that's fantastic. And that shows genuine empathy, I guess, and flexibility that, as you said, people are going through different motions. And I think that's really important. So thank you. So it'd be good to dive a little bit deeper into the next stage. And if we go to the next slide, just a bit about, obviously, you know, how we reached the new normal. So it was good just to understand a bit more around the journey we're going on, and a bit about how important it is that, you know, people can give feedback anywhere, anytime, I guess.
Yeah. So we said, okay, let's be quick here, and let's again not try to boil the ocean, but just asking, how do you feel, to our top leaders in the organization globally. And this is what you see on the screen, and we opened it a week ago and got terrific traction on it. So how do you feel? Please share one word that's on your mind right now, and one thing that would make you feel better. And as I said, after 3 hours, we already had 400 people responding to this as a way to outlet. Yeah. Oh, they care. They're asking, and we got you know, very consistent feedback and insights that we have presented. The CEO actually this week presented what we got in week 1 from this pulse to our senior leader community during a webinar. And he said, guys, thank you for telling us, and thank you for continuing to you know, share your insights here. Because this is open. This is not a one shot exercise when people answer and then they move on. No, they keep it as a favorite on their laptop to tell us almost every day or multiple times per day how they feel on a scale 0 to 10.
And I think that's the key to this, is that, you know, some people actually might not want to give feedback, and other people might want to give a lot of feedback. And again, it's understanding that people are different. So that's brilliant. And actually, thanks to Sodexo, it was the first time we've asked for the one word, which I thought was fascinating, because I guess anytime you try and crystallize your thoughts into one word, it can be quite a challenge, but hopefully that's given you guys even more insight. So that's brilliant.
Yep.
So if we move to chapter 2.
Yep. So chapter 2 is again getting in-depth insight into a topic. So what we got from week 1 of the pulse was uncertainty, and we said, okay, so uncertainty means, yes, we don't know what's going to happen next, right, with this virus, because nobody knows. But uncertainty internally, from a company perspective, what does that mean, right? And so the dialogue around uncertainty will be certainly about, do I have a job tomorrow? Yeah, where do I work from tomorrow?
Yeah.
Where should I focus on tomorrow? What's the company's direction for tomorrow? That is helping us tremendously with our communication strategy to our people, because what we control is not the external VUCA thing. We can't. But internally, if we can bring some clarity or just say, well, we don't know, I think this is extremely comforting for our leaders, who themselves will have to convey messages to their teams.
Yeah.
And this is what we got out of this. So yes, we'll continue to pulse the people and see what's on their mind. Some very, very good suggestions around what would make you feel better. Well, we know the company is going to probably go under very, very difficult moments right now, with very difficult decisions to make. Guys, just tell us. And somebody type this down. I'm an adult, I can take bad news. Just tell us. And this is helping us as a leadership group and the CEO to unleash and communicate and be absolutely not that we're not before, but we're cautious with this kind of messages. And now we say it's an expectation.
Yeah, and it feels like, I guess, more than usual, that timing is important and responding sooner rather than later is important. So do you see this informing your people strategy moving forward? This insight?
Will inform my people strategy?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is going to be the temperature check. Not that I want to get into the temperature check discussion of virus, but more the temperature check for our leadership, and us pivoting and adapting based on what we hear, for sure. Oh yeah. Engagement will be the core. I was talking to an investor this morning. The number one question I was asked was engagement of your workforce.
Wow, that leads me perfectly on to maybe not the next slide, but the slide after. So if we move forward. Yes, we mentioned earlier. Actually, if we go back one slide, sorry, to chapter 3. Yeah, it'd be good to talk a little bit about the motivation pulse.
Yeah, so we would like to launch this, and again, depending on how we progress worldwide with management of the crisis, we'll decide what's the best timing to actually move from the pulse we talked about to this more comprehensive motivation survey for our people, and it's going to touch 470,000 employees everywhere in the 67 countries. So we want to make sure that, yes, again, we pick the right window of time. But yeah, 10 questions with insights. To be honest, 3 months ago we had our set of questions ready. I'm just throwing everything out the window right now, because those questions are so not relevant anymore. So my job's going to be to find the right way to ask, to get the right feedback from our organization, and quickly align on some, okay, what have we missed, what have we learned, and what do we need to do differently going forward. So I look forward to this one, and we'll have more work to do together, Chris, on this one.
Yes, and I'm very aware of that. And one you mentioned there about your investor, that's fascinating. So I'm right in thinking that the results normally form part of your annual company report, is that correct?
Yep.
Why is that so important to Sodexo, I guess?
The motivation and the engagement.
Well, yeah, the fact that it's actually included in your annual report, and the fact you had, an investor on the line asking how your people feel.
Because again, we're a service company, and every single employee decides every morning to go to work or not, and to provide the service with this little plus that makes the company unique and the service we provide unique. They decide if they want to smile or not. I mean, you can provide service to our clients and consumers, perfectly from a technical perspective. If you smile on top of it, that's great. So that's our job. It's our job to make sure that we understand if our people are engaged, if they're motivated, if they're happy to go to work every day. If we don't, then I think it's the quality of the service and the happiness of the clients that will drop. So it's the core, it's the engine of our company, how people feel.
Brilliant. So let's move to chapter 4. And this is looking slightly more down the line, but I know this has been a key part of Sodexo's thoughts around manager empowerment.
Yeah. So what we said was, okay, we're going to change the way we do engagement survey this year. And we've run an engagement survey for many, many years the same. It was a set of 58 questions sent to everybody, and then we would receive the results. It would take a good 6 months to actually compile the feedback and understand the data. And then we would go back to the teams with some action plans. And yet it's a year from the moment we ask to the moment we act. And we thought, okay, we got to compress this. So we decided, as per the previous conversation, that we would only select 10 relevant questions, send to everybody. And then if we see that we have some trends in one country, there's something that's not running well, or if there's something that is actually running very well, how do we leverage this learning to actually go a level deeper with additional questions, additional things that are specific to a country or a segment or a function that the manager would decide to do on their own? It is not a top-down, it's really a bottoms-up approach with fast, quick, agile. Let me ask you how you feel, you tell me, and I take immediate action on your insight. I'm not waiting for 2 years. I'm not waiting for 2 months. I'm doing it today at any level in the organization to actually understand how, as a manager, I can enable you better, you an employee. So we're going to let this happen as they want. Managers will be able to leverage the platform to actually pulse their own teams, on demand. And that's great. So we're going to have company worldwide level data every year. And then we're going to have an ecosystem and, a flourishing, more in-depth survey, depending on what managers feel the need or want to do, which is awesome. It's very agile.
And it must be a great vote of confidence for the managers as well, because we're, effectively Sodexo placing a lot of trust in them. I mean, that's what empowerment's about, I guess.
Exactly. So yes, we'll have to help the managers with receiving that feedback and asking for that feedback, because it's not in some country cultures, it is not natural to ask for feedback and receive feedback, and for people to feel comfortable enough to actually tell their boss, hey, there's something you should continue, something you should consider doing differently. So we're going to help with change management, our organization around this. But it's like any muscle, right? You only build it when you practice it. So we again are gonna trigger it and see how it flows and diffuse into the organization. Of course, we're gonna do some things wrong, but I'm all for the 80-20 rule. As long as we get 80% right, we'll progress as an organization, as a learning organization.
Yeah, brilliant. Cathy, this has been absolutely brilliant. It's been great to see so much passion you have. I knew that anyway, but it's really come across even more this time. So I just want to finish on a couple of questions now. One which is, if you could give your younger self some words of wisdom at the start of your career, what would they be?
Ask the next question. I think, when my mom raised me with this thing, she said, we were made with two sets of eyes and one set of eyes, 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 1 mouth. So you should look and listen, twice as much as you speak. And to me, asking the next question is always the right way to learn. Is always getting you to the next stage of sometimes also challenging some things we've done forever. If you don't understand it, don't do it, right? Is my takeaway. Learn, observe, listen, and keep asking.
That's brilliant. I heard a similar one saying, be curious. It's the same thing. Keep asking. I love that. And last but not least, maybe not as relevant in the last 7 weeks, maybe it is, but outside of your working career, what makes you happy?
Many different things. And it's funny because we are really, I think now refocusing on what matters. Really, Chris, I would have asked you 4 months ago, how are you? You would have said, I'm great. And no one cares, right? If you're really in good health. Today, when you pick up the phone and you ask people how they feel, you mean it. And what makes me happy today is my parents, my kids, my siblings, and our family being in good health. And we'll try to keep it this way. What makes me happy is my friends being in touch, even virtually, that we didn't lose that connection with them, and themselves being happy and in good health. I'll never ask, how are you, in the same way ever, because without health, there's nothing else. So what makes me happy today is a healthy family and healthy friends, and hope that it remains.
That's a perfect response. Cathy, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure, and thanks for your time, and I hope to speak with you again soon.
Chris, thank you so much for this opportunity, for a great dialogue that also makes me think, right, and step back from a very, very busy day and week. So appreciate your partnership and help us, move forward as an organization and a culture. So talk soon. Stay well. Stay well.